Hello folks, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Ben and I'm a photographer and videographer based in North Wales. The end of the year, the end of the decade is upon us, and it's around this time of the year that you start seeing everyone's best 9 posts on Instagram. I'm not a massive fan of it, to be honest with you. I don't really care how many likes I get on photos and stuff. If you do follow me on Instagram, you'll probably be aware that I really do not post very regularly at all. In fact, I'm pretty certain these days I actually post more to YouTube than I do to Instagram. I just can't really be all that bothered with it. So instead, what we're going to do today is go through my favourite images of 2019. I've got roughly 12, so approximately one from each month of the year. I will be mentioning some of the most liked on Instagram, but also some of my personal favourites, which don't necessarily coincide with the most popular online. So let's jump straight into January. So this is a shot from Padang in Llanberis, Snowdonia. Many people may recognise this scene, but slightly differently. This is a very popular scene in Snowdonia, probably one of the most photographed trees, certainly in the UK, if not the world. Just about 10 feet to the right of where I took this shot is the lone tree of Padang Lake. But, you know, everyone has that shot, and really there's only so many compositions that you can get with that tree. You're very limited in terms of where the water is, depending on whether you want to get your feet wet or not. And I just wanted something different. I wanted a nice composition, but I didn't care for the tree at all. So I just moved just over to the other side of the bank. This was shot handheld at 85mm, probably wide open at f1.8, and I'm focusing there on Dolbadan Castle. As you can probably tell, I got very low to the ground so I could get the really nice reflections of the mountains in the background, as well as the tree line. Obviously they're very blurry, but you can see the rocks and stones poking up out of the water in the lower half of the frame. And seeing as it was January, it was a very bright sunny day. There's no foliage on the trees at all. I wanted to give it that sort of barren look to the landscape. So for me, this was a very simple edit. I used one of my presets, which is actually called Dolbadan, and then cropped to 4x5 for Instagram, and that was it. I was happy with it. This did prove very popular on Instagram, I have to say, and again, I think that's probably because not many people actually take a shot like this. Everyone focuses on the tree and they don't look anywhere else. So goes to prove, be different, don't just shoot the obvious subject, and you could be very happy with the image. Moving on to February, this is obviously the Shard. This is not at all my usual shot or the usual scene that I find myself in. I was doing a video job down in London, travelled down the night before, staying in the hotel, so I just went for a bit of a wander, and believe it or not, I've done very little editing to this image. It's a really foggy night, but it wasn't very low fog. It seemed to be lingering among the higher tops of the buildings, and obviously with the Shard being lit at the top, it gives it that sort of Lord of the Rings, Isengard look to it, which I love. So again, I did very little editing to this. I managed to get the white balance off the little tiny sign down at the bottom of the frame along the water's edge, and then played around a little bit with clarity and a bit of colour as well. You can still see blues and greens, yellows, oranges, reds, a bit of purple and everything. So yeah, pretty happy with this image, especially considering I'm not by any means a city boy. It's just right place at the right time, I think, for that one. If I'd gone down the next day, it was beautiful, clear skies. Moving on to March, I absolutely love this shot. This is in fact the first time I went out with the Lumix G9. I was just on my way home from work, had the camera in the back of the car. I was driving up and over the Denbigh Moors here in North Wales, and I don't know, I felt there was something a bit weird with the weather. It was beautiful, clear skies, bright sunny day. Had been most of the day. This is actually coming towards sunset. Still early in the year, so it was fairly early setting. So I thought I'd just take a bit of a detour. I went up to Isafaled, and as soon as I came over the brow of the hill off the main road, I could just tell straight away the water was like glass. I've never seen the reservoirs like this, nor have I since. This tree's rattling as I move. I did set up the tripod for this shot because I was trying out the high resolution mode on the G9. So this is actually an 80 plus megapixel image. I was blown away by the detail on this image. I love the composition. Clear blue sky at the top third. Along the top third we've got the dam of the reservoir, and then that perfect reflection of the orange grass in the bluish tealy water. Really nice complementary colours. Yeah, I absolutely love it. And again, absolute minimal editing done to this image. I tried to get my white balance off. There's a tiny little white sign at the other side of the reservoir shore, so I used that for my white balance, and yeah, it came out pretty much spot on as I remembered it. Now on to April. This is one of the famous wild Snowdonia ponies. This was actually the first time I've ever actually come up close to them, really. I went for a little walk with my mate Chris. We went up to Cumidwal in the Ogwen Valley, Snowdonia. It was snowing, and halfway up the path there, came across ponies. They could be so hard trying to figure out a shot with animals, especially wild animals. They are pretty timid, these ponies, but still, they're not going to just stand in one place for you and wait for you to get the shot. They're constantly moving, looking for food, but I could tell that this one was going to be moving across my frame. So I set up a shot low down to the path with that's a ridge on Penarolwen across the valley there, and just waited for the pony to be centre of frame there. I love that you can see the falling snow as well. Everyone loves ponies, so that one did pretty well again on Instagram. So May, as you may be aware if you follow the channel for a while, this is my beloved Rona, my old FN2 Honda Civic Type R. Unfortunately no longer with us. Shortly after taking these photos I actually sold her, went for the Skoda instead, but I just had it cleaned, which doesn't happen very often where I live. I'm right out in the sticks, just surrounded by farms, and honestly there's no point washing your car very often at all. But I'd also just installed some bright white LED side lights as well, as you can definitely see in the image. So I wanted to get some shots, so I took her up on top of the Demi Moors, and the conditions were just fantastic. It's pretty clear, you could see right out to Snowdonia. I did get a couple of shots here as well. That standing out quite prominently in the background is Mol Shabod in Snowdonia, and you can also see a couple of wind turbines as well. So yeah, I really like these other shots with the mountains in the background, but I think this has to be my favourite. It's just such a simple shot. Car dead centre on the lower third line, loads of empty space in the top of the frame. Yeah, I just love it. These are all shot at 85mm or 42.5mm on the Lumix G9, and I was so happy with these images. Every time I look at these, I wish I still had that car. One day, I'll have another one. Okay, next, on to June. This is actually from one of my videos. I did vlog this one. So somehow I managed to delete the original edit file because it was a bracketed exposure. Obviously I blended them, created a TIFF file. I seem to have lost that TIFF file somewhere. So I did another quick edit just using one of the images. Highly doubt that anyone else has this shot. I won't disclose the location where I took it from, but it is public access land. I was not trespassing in any way. Just to the right of the frame, that is actually where Thunbrennig is, and yeah, I just went for a little wander in the forest. I could tell that the sun was getting low, starting to set, so I made my way through the forest and found myself at a dry stone wall, the other side of which was this scene. So I took it again with the Lumix G9. I actually sat it on top of the dry stone wall just with the little Manfrotto tripod, fired away some brackets, and then that was it. Job was a good one. The main part of editing this image was just the bracketing itself and evening out those darker and lighter exposures. Otherwise I didn't do a lot to this at all. I think I did put a graduated filter over the sky and then played around, just tweaked the colour a little bit, but otherwise that was it. On to July. So this is my home turf. This prominent peak in the background, that is Morvamai, and this photo was taken from Phantom, which is the next peak along basically. So I took these two images, one focused on the peak of Morvamai, one focused on the grasses in the foreground, and I focus stacked them. But this was a first for me. I actually focus stacked them in Procreate on the iPad Pro. I'd only just got it, so I was dead excited to see what I could do with it basically. So this was the final image. Basically in Lightroom Mobile I edited one of the two shots, then copied all the settings onto the other image that I was using, and then imported both of them as layers, as I would with Photoshop, into Procreate, and then just brushed away what I didn't want. And yeah, I don't think I've ever had such a seamless focus stack before. Using the Apple Pencil on the iPad Pro, it is such an intuitive process and I just had no trouble at all with it. But yeah, I love this shot. Like I say, it's my home turf. Morvamai is the biggest peak on the Coidian range, which is what I see out of the window every day of my life. I'm literally about a mile or so as the crow flies from the peak of Morvamai, and yeah, that seems to go down pretty well on Instagram. So now on to August. I didn't actually do a great deal of shooting for myself during August just because I was so busy working. So as well as a job that I had in Snowdonia at a tourist attraction, shooting there, I was also doing my weddings and parties and all sorts of other stuff. But just one evening on my way home from Snowdonia, again up and over the Denby Moors, I could just see the light starting to kick off over the peaks in my rear view mirror. So I pulled over in a lay-by, I saw this gate, I saw that light in the background, and it was an obvious composition straight away for me. This was on a tripod using the G9 and the 35-100 lens, and again I did a high resolution photo with this one. Okay, September. You may have seen this one on my channel. This is when I went up to the Lake District at the start of September, and I went for a little walk up Fleetwith Pike, and from the top there you're looking down onto the Buttermere Valley. So this main lake in the foreground here, that is Buttermere Lake. I think literally the only camera lens combo that I used this day was the Lumix G9 with the 35-100mm lens, which is great for picking off smaller aspects in a great landscape, but I wanted something just a little bit different, so very simply I used one of the rocks that I was standing amongst. Just brought that into frame to give that foreground element, and then as I was setting the shot up, this burst of sunlight just came down onto the luscious green fields in the middle of the two lakes, while we still had this very thick cloud up at the top of the frame as well, which I was within for quite a while I was up there. And yeah, I absolutely love this shot. This, I think, was actually my most liked photo on Instagram this year, I think. But yeah, pretty happy with that one. However, it's not my favourite shot of September. As you might well know, I love rally. and this year finally I managed to get the whole weekend off, managed to get to a couple of stages. But before that, at the very end of September, I went up towards Llynbrennig again, which is where one of the stages is, and I just went for a wander and came away with this shot. I love this shot. I've said that a lot in this video, haven't I? This is right at the end of September, but there's still a lot of greenery around in the grasses and in the trees as well. You can see that this is a mixed forest of coniferous and broadleaf trees, and it's all still very green, but because they're all mixed in together, you've got that good mix of green tones in there. It was a pretty moody day, but there were little bursts of light coming out now and then, as you can see on the sort of mid-ground. I think this is sort of a crumbled dry stone wall. I used that as my foreground, trying to use the gap in the middle to line up with the road where it disappears into the forest, and I'd seen this van coming a mile off, so I knew exactly where it was going, set up my shot, waited, and sure enough it went straight down that road, disappeared into the forest, and I really like how that, as I was saying, I love that little burst of red right in the middle of this otherwise green and grey scene. So yeah, easily my favourite photo from September. Moving on to October, and as I mentioned, rally. So me and a few mates, we managed to get down to the Alwen stage of the Wales Rally GB, and it was great, absolutely loved it. So this shot in particular, you may recognise it from my Camera Basics series. I used this shot in my shutter speed episode because I used the panning technique. So I was using a slightly slower shutter speed, but tracking the car as it was moving past me. Now this car in particular, this lad driving, his name is Oliver Solberg, and he's the son and heir of Petter Solberg, my childhood hero. He was the World Rally Champion in 2003, driving the blue and gold 555 Subaru Impreza. Which is also why I love Subarus. You'll see, one day I'll have one and I'll be ragging around the countryside doing my vlogs in a Subaru. For now though, I'm perfectly happy with the Skoda. Now I got hundreds, thousands even, of shots over the rally period, and I think purely on technical aspect, photography wise, I have to pick this one, as well as the subject matter, because I was tracking using the panning technique, and I also managed to get the Alwen Reservoir in the background there, which I was dead chuffed with, while still getting a very nicely sharp image of the moving car. I had loads of images that I absolutely loved from the rally, but yeah, I've got to pick that one for October. Moving on to November, this photo in Betskoid, I actually posted this as a set of two images at two different focus points. So this is a guest house just over the river. I was stood on the bridge in Betskoid. Now the first shot I actually focused on the weeds growing on the side of the bridge here in the foreground, and then as the next photo along I posted this one with the guest house in focus. Everyone went mad for this one of the guest house. In fact, little anecdote for you, Visit Wales actually shared this image to their Instagram, Facebook and whatnot. Obviously on Instagram we can't see how many likes a post has got anymore, but on Facebook alone this had, when I last checked, this had over 4,500 likes on it. Do you know how many extra followers I gained after that reshare? 4 new followers from over 4,500 likes on my image. So yeah, I don't mind at all my work being shared. They weren't using this image purely for advertising or anything like that, as in they weren't directly selling a product using my image as advertisement. So yeah, I'm fine with that really. But it just goes to show, if you're happy with your work and you've got a decent portfolio on the go, do not work for exposure. It doesn't work. It will not pay off for you. I mean, Visit Wales is probably the biggest social page going for landscape photos in Wales, and I gained 4 followers from their post. Don't do it. It's not worth it. If you're good enough and you know that your work is good enough, charge for it. I do have some other stories about Visit Wales as well, but I'll save them. Either way, that is not my favourite image from November. I think actually that this one is. So this is taken at Riffin Castle, which isn't much of a castle anymore. It's a hotel, and anyone is free to go and walk in and around the gardens and the grounds, and they quite famously have quite a few peacocks who just roam around the grounds as well. So I'd gone just for a wander really. I hadn't really seen much in the way of autumn foliage or anything like that. I was working on a pretty big project at the time, so I'd spent most of the month indoors. Just further back from this shot there's a stone archway which leads you into the garden itself. So I was trying to frame something up with that, but then I saw the peacock going the other side of the wall, so I had a feeling it would be going out into the road itself. So again, preemptively, I set up a shot. As always, you can never trust a wild animal to play game with you, but I just waited. I fired off quite a few shots, just waiting for a half decent pose from the peacock, and eventually came up with this one. There's quite a bit of editing going on here. You can probably tell in the trees is quite a bright clear day. There's a lot of sunlight on there, whereas behind the big wall on the right hand side there, this is all in pretty deep shadow. So I did have to do quite a bit of work trying to lift up the shadows but still making it look natural. But I'm pretty happy with the result here, and in fact I still haven't posted this to Instagram. I'm terrible at it. But yeah, for November I think that's actually my favourite shot. Which leads us on to December. Obviously the month isn't over yet, there's still another 2 days or so, but I took this photo last week. I went down to Cardiff to visit a mate of mine who was working there, and checking the weather forecast the night before, it was due to be cloudy with a few sunny breaks. So around sunrise I decided, yeah, I'll go for it, see if anything happens. I've wanted to photograph this building for ages. This is the Pierhead building on Cardiff Bay. Gorgeous red brick building, really deep red brick building, and I was actually on my way to the waterfront itself, but just walking down the street I noticed the sun just hitting it full on in the face, and it had been pouring down with rain the night before, so there's puddles everywhere. This puddle in particular was huge, so I was actually able to get pretty much the whole building. You can't actually see the whole building because it's blocked behind another one, but the whole front face there of the building is reflected in the puddle. I did play around quite a bit with lifting up the shadows in this is one of the government buildings on the left hand side, but I really like the contrast, keeping it dark and then having the reflection of the Pierhead building. See all the oranges there reflecting in the windows. I really like that, so without doubt that's my favourite image of this month. You never know, we might get 1 or 2 more, but yeah, dead happy with that one. So that's it, they're my top images for this year. I hope you like them. I must get around to posting them on Instagram at some point, and I must try and improve my posting regularity as well for the next year. I can't see it happening, to be honest with you. I've not really had very many outings this year, to be honest with you. I've been doing a lot more work business wise, so I have cut down on the amount of days I'm just going out willy-nilly after my landscape shots. But regardless, I'm happy with them, and I think this little video actually explaining the images and stuff is far better than just posting a little square of squares. So on another note, my last video, a Christmas gift. Not many people seem to get the idea with that. I literally had a gift for you. I did make it an almost deliberately boring watch for the first half of the video, but yeah, there's a Christmas giveaway. Looking at my YouTube analytics, I've got a nice little graph right here. I can see exactly how many people are tuning out after about a minute and a half, 2 minutes. As with most videos, it peters out towards the end of the video. But I've literally had one person actually apply for my giveaway item. So if nobody else goes through the process, then he's getting it. I'm not going to bother with a random number generator or anything. I'm not holding on to it for much longer either. So if you're interested, head to that last video and yeah, actually give it a watch. Again, I've left it to the end of this video to mention it because the idea is that I want to give back to my viewers, my actual regular viewers, those who support the channel and who I really appreciate the most. So I'm guessing if you're still here at this point in this video, you're one of those people, so head on over. The camera overheated. So yeah, if you're one of those people who's still watching, regardless, get on over to that video and you might stand the chance of winning something. So yeah, I'll sign off there before the camera overheats again. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you liked it and I hope you liked the images. If you'd like to follow me on Instagram, I'll leave my handle down here again. And if you'd like to see more videos like this one, do be sure to hit subscribe down the bottom corner there. Give it a like if you liked it, and I also have PayPal link and affiliate links as well for Amazon. So if you'd like to give back to the channel in some way, using any of those would be highly appreciated. So until next time, hope you enjoyed your Christmas. All the best for the new year. I may or may not have a post for this coming Wednesday. I am heading off to Northamptonshire for New Year's with a few friends, but otherwise enjoy yourselves, get out there shooting, and I'll see you in the next one. Is that my new jumper, by the way? It's a Christmas present off my mum. Love it.